this first class, we're going to be taking an immersive dive into the key figures and features of haute couture design, really the main basic focus of Lady Cloth U. We'll be focused on haute couture and several key designers. Let's get started. Haute couture is sewing at a high level. So this is far more broader than the traditional or the normal sewing you would do for everyday clothes. This is something at a more higher level and involves more intricate techniques. It's also an additional segment during the fashion show season, so you'll often hear about spring, summer, and winter, fall, but you'll also hear additional designers participating specifically in haute couture. Those designs you see on the runway are often the more exaggerated designs that are involved in fashion that people have often likened to everyday fashion design, and you may find yourself saying, who would wear that? Well, these are intentionally supposed to be works of art, and they're often exaggerated designs. They're usually modified, however, and turned into more mass-produced pieces. So these are pieces that can be worn by the everyday person. If you look inside your notes, you'll see that I have two dresses there. One is from Valentino's most recent haute couture show. The second is just a more everyday dress. If you look there, you can see the obvious comparisons. You'll see the puff sleeves, you'll see the very wide neckline, and even the color of the dress in itself. So obviously the first is haute couture, and the second is something that can be worn on a more everyday level. That is done quite often when we see even the normal runway shows. Haute couture represents painstaking care and detail, which is why you'll see as we go into the next slide, a lot of the work is done by hand. So again, a lot of the work in haute couture is done by hand, even after the invention of the sewing machine in 1755. So even as we sit here today, a lot of haute couture involves a tremendous amount of hand sewing. Haute couture itself is mainly located in Paris, France. So its origins were in Paris, France, and it still has a huge stake there. There are only a few designers, however, that can officially call themselves haute couture. So although you may hear it a lot, there are only a very selected few that can actually hold the name haute couture and it be true. The title itself is strictly controlled by the Chamber Syndicate de la Parisienne, and please forgive my pronunciation of that, but it directly translates as Parisian High Fashion Syndicate. So it sounds like a crime family, but it's actually just an organization that controls and regulates haute couture itself. So who qualifies to be in haute couture? What are some designers that are actually in haute couture? We have so many designers. And what are the qualifying factors? Maybe some of the questions that you have. Just a few of the ones that I just wanted to list. There are far more in your notes, and it's a little bit more detail in your notes, but for the sake of this slide, I just named a couple. We have Chanel, and we'll cover her when we get to our featured designers, as well as Christian Dior. We also have Givenchy and Giorgio Armani. Those are just some of the designers. We also have foreign designers. There's a couple of American designers in the haute couture. So they've expanded over the years, but these are just some of the ones I named on this slide. Again, in your notes, you'll see quite a few more. What are some of the qualifying factors in order for you to hold the title of haute couture and be a part of this syndicate? 1, made to order. If you look inside your notes, you'll see I have some glossary of terms, and it'll break down what exactly made to order means. But it essentially means it's not cut or anything done to it until the client orders. A lot of the work that I do here in my studio is made to order. The client comes to me, they tell me what they want, we work out the details, I get the materials, and then I make it. I don't do anything prior to that. You must have a workroom in Paris with at least 15 employees. You must present a 35-piece collection of day and evening garments. Okay, so we have some more factors that would qualify you to be called or apply for the haute couture title. A press showing in Paris. So you need to have a showing specifically for the press, and it has to be held in Paris. You need to show a collection to private clientele. In some of the historical fashion we'll cover, or the fashion films lesson, you'll see that a lot of designers were in these very small spots, and they have like these black and white films of them showing to a selected group of people, and they have the models, and it's very intimate. But those were some of the qualifying factors to be part of a haute couture house. So you may say to yourself, what is the cost? Like, what a haute couture design? We've discussed so far what it takes to qualify, who is qualified, and what would be a qualifying cost? Well, on average, $8,000 to $20,000 is a simple haute couture dress. $15,000 to $50,000 is an evening gown. Why are they so expensive? Well, a lot of factors go into this cost. You're talking about fabric, the design, cut, and the finish. Even when I'm pricing my own garments here in my studio, that is a huge deciding factor in how much the garment will cost. Some things have to be imported. Some fabrics actually have to be made and designed by hand myself. So when you're taking in essentially the labor that's involved and the scarcity of a particular design, that definitely increases the cost of a price. And we'll definitely get into fabric and those different kinds of things, and it'll help you better understand why certain garments cost more than others. But we also have to acknowledge brand identification. There are certain brands that are automatically going to cost more. Gucci is going to cost more than your everyday department store design. So what is the key difference between high-end ready-to-wear and haute couture? So if you head into your lesson, you'll be able to see that I've attached a PDF. And on the PDF, it lists haute couture and high-end ready-to-wear. And here we'll see the key differences between a haute couture and high-end ready-to-wear design. So what is high-end ready-to-wear? So these are the things that you're going to see in your high-priced department stores like Lord & Taylor, Bloomingdale's. These are better made garments, higher in ready-to-wear. They go in the hundreds, maybe in the thousands, but not so much often when we're talking about going into a store. Haute couture garments, as we see, they're not available in stores. So you cannot walk into any standard store, even at the highest level, and just pick up a haute couture garment. However, high-end ready-to-wear, they are sold in stores. Haute couture has limited availability, so you have to order these things ahead of time. They're usually, like I said, made to order, so they're not made until the client actually requests the garment. High-end ready-to-wear, you go in, it's a size 10, 15, it's a size 8, whatever size you are, you go in, you look for that size. Little hanger appeal. I found this to be one of the more interesting aspects, because when I make some of my designs, I get so crazy about the fact that it doesn't look pretty on a hanger. And then I realized that that is actually perhaps a good thing. Haute couture designs, they're made to shape the shape the body of the wearer. They're very wearer focused. They're very focused on the person who's actually going to wear the garment, and that may not be something that translates well on an actual hanger. However, hanger appeal is important. If you are in a store and there are tons and tons and tons of garments available to you, ideally you're going to pick up the one and you're going to kind of hold it to the light, as we often do, and say, this looks very pretty. Even though sometimes we get home and it's like, this is not at all what I thought this was going to look like. The whole idea is for it to be very appealing to you when you sort of look at it at a glance, when you're looking at it on that hanger. It is designed, that's why you see so many straps and strings attached to it, because you want it to hold up when the person's holding on the hanger. Haute couture is designed for a single client. So again, the person orders it, they design it for them. Everything about that design is geared towards that specific person. Special pockets, special underpinnings, those are all things that the client usually requests, and it's specifically for them. High-end ready-to-wear is designed for a target customer. You do your research, you go through all kinds of A/B testing. We do all these things so that we can say, what does this person who's going to wear this garment, what does he or she look like? what is their lifestyle, and they take all those factors into account when they're designing the garment. They're not cut until the client orders. Covered this before. Haute Couture, you don't do anything to it until the client orders. Cut when retail orders. So a big brand puts in an order request and they say we want 3,000 army fatigue style cargo jackets. And the cut person goes in ahead and they begin that process. And lastly, lots of hand sewing. So in Haute Couture, we have a lot of hand sewing, as I previously stated earlier in the video. In high-end ready-to-wear, it's mass-produced, so there's a lot of machinery involved. So it's far less hand sewing, if any hand sewing at all. So those are just some of the general things that sort of differentiate high-end ready-to-wear from Haute Couture sewing. So the next module we're going to cover, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some key designers that had a huge impact on even the designs that we see today. Their influence was massive, and I think it's very important that we sort of understand fashion at its origins so that we can better understand the designs that we intend to create in the future.